I am here to make history. In this video, for the first time ever, I am going to give any kind of review on a G-rated movie. It's funny, the last time I reviewed anything, it was actually Black Mirror, which is very R-rated. Here we are, G. We're not talking PG, we're talking G. I watched a G-rated movie, Toy Story 4, with my wife and kids over the weekend, and of course I loved it, and of course you better believe that this video contains spoilers. If you accidentally clicked on this video and don't want to have the movie ruined, I'm giving you a couple more seconds to cancel, stop. This is your chance so that it's not ruined. But people who are watching this video on purpose are watching it because they've already watched Toy Story 4 and they want some random guy on the internet to help them process what just happened, psychologically process what happened in Toy Story 4 at the end of it. And now that I'm a minute into it, I haven't revealed anything until now. Too late if you don't want to hear the spoilers. Here we go. So obviously, the big deal, the big reveal in Toy Story 4 is what I thought was going to happen in Toy Story 3. But we weren't ready for that. Toy Story 3, we saw Andy give his toys away. What I thought was going to happen in Toy Story 3 is that maybe one of the toys died, broke or whatever, or that the main gang got split up. And it didn't happen in Toy Story 3, and I was so surprised. But Toy Story 4, it was time. It was time for this to happen. You know, there's certain movies and certain things, and I don't want to give anything away. Gran Turismo, is that what it is? With Clint Eastwood? You know, if you've seen that movie, by the time it ended, the way he ended up in that movie, the whole movie was built up for that to happen. Have you seen Breaking Bad? Well, when you look at the finale, ultimately that's how it needed to end based on everything that happened. And that's the same thing that we see with Woody in Toy Story 4. It was inevitable that he finally needed to leave the rest of the toys. But it had to be his decision. And it took all of the movie, that's the character arc, that's the story here in Toy Story 4, is we realized after all of these years, I mean, how old was Woody? I mean, he basically admitted in Toy Story 4 that he's been around since, what, the 1950s is what he understands. He doesn't really know how old he is, but he's been around for a long time. Now, granted, if you have seen my other video, I do a timeline of when Toy Story 4 takes place. It actually takes place in 2007, not in 2019 modern day, but in 2007. But either way, if he's been around since the 50s or the 60s, he's been around for a long time. He's been on that horse for a long time, and in real time, he'd known Buzz Lightyear since arguably 1995 when Andy turned 6. So he's been with these other toys a long time. He's been alive for a long time. And what a change in his identity. What a character growth that he finally had to come to the realization of, yes, I have all of these friends and they are my life. But the movie is about his purpose and him understanding his purpose. And you see very early on in Toy Story 4 that Woody is realizing he's not being chosen anymore to play with. So he's really just kind of delegating and trying to find his purpose, that's hilarious. He enables Forky to fill this void because he cared so much about Bonnie. But ultimately, he realized he was going through all this trouble, really putting his friends in danger over what? Something that wasn't even about his role anymore. He was facilitating others. So by the end, and he had already given up on romance, if that's what this is, if that's what we call it. And I remember when I saw the first Toy Story in the theaters in '95, and it was established that there was some sort of romantic relationship that was going on, or they were wanting to go on, but it was never confirmed that it was. And we had already seen that from the flashback, which would have taken place. So Toy Story 2, that's when Bo Peep was given away, which would have been 1997 according to the storyline. So many years had gone by, let's say, from when Toy Story 2 ends, when she was given away in '97, to when Toy Story 4 takes place in 2017. So it'd been 20 years, according to their own timeline, of how much time Woody had seen Bo Peep. 20 years. And he chose his owner, Andy, over his romantic interest and his friends. But finally he realizes that his role is not to be with a child, with an owner. It is finally time for him to learn his identity beyond that, to reinvent his identity, and to pursue this, arguably this romantic relationship, and to be free of an owner with Bobby. That is the best way that movie could have ended. Now, yes, and I'm getting goosebumps right now, and I have no shame admitting tears were going down my eyes thinking, are my kids seeing this? Or is my wife seeing this? No shame. Same thing. I've seen Inside Out twice, cried both times. Not even ashamed of it at all. I mean, I have no emotions otherwise. No one can offend me or insult me or anything like that. But man, you put me in front of the right Pixar movie, don't look at me because I'm crying. That's the truth. I'm not even making that up. So I feel so good about this movie. I feel so good about the way this ended. You know, it's not that all the toys had to be split up. I mean, it's funny because Buzz is still back there with everybody else, and they're serving their purpose. But what great closure for Woody. He's old. He's been around forever, and so do people. They're so old. It's time for them to find a new purpose. And I think the challenge in this movie, and the reason I even now still have goosebumps, is that is what life is like. I mean, I think for me, someone who's 38, next month, actually the end of this month, I'm going to my 20th high school reunion, and thinking, wow, it's been 20 years since I graduated high school. That's crazy. I'm such a different person now than I was 20 years ago. Now, granted, I'm going to go to the reunion and be like, hey, Nick, you're the same guy as I remember. But I'm not. I'm basically kind of a doppelganger, an older looking doppelganger of myself from 1999 when I graduated high school. But that's what life is about. It's about accepting how our identity must change for us to get further along in life. It's a tragedy when someone tries to remain in a certain year of their life. Some people get stuck in high school or college, or they're so nostalgic to a fault that it keeps them from progressing. Man, have I changed so much leading up to me turning 38 this year. I'm a completely different person than I was even at age 30. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the progression I've seen. And that's what we needed to see for Woody. There's this idea of coming to terms with our own mortality. You know? Now granted, there doesn't really seem to be death in the universe of Toy Story. But ultimately there is death in this universe that we live in. And we're aware of that. We're aware we're not going to live forever on this planet. That our life will come to an end at some point. And for those of us who don't die young, we have plenty of years to sort of sort out our purpose, our identity. And sometimes that purpose and identity changes based on where we are in life. I can tell you, it's happened many times in my life already. So there you go. That's my analysis of the ending of Toy Story 4, but more importantly, the whole plot and purpose of this movie. To me, that was the perfect ending. That was the perfect storyline. And I wonder, even if there would be a Toy Story 5, what else can you possibly do at this point? That's not going to be a rehash of what we've already seen happen to all the other characters. And sure, we could see Buzz, him be given away, but we've already seen that similar character arc already happen. The toys have already been given to a new owner. Buzz, who arguably was the main toy, the main leader this whole time, he's no longer a part of that. Andy's already gone. You know, and what's funny is in real time, Andy would be 30 years old. He was born in 1989 because he had his 6th birthday when the first one came out in 1995. He'd be 6 years old. So in 2019, he'd be 30. We've moved on from Andy. It's not about Andy. And Woody dealing with that was a very complex issue to begin with. And even in Toy Story 4, which takes place the same calendar year as Toy Story 3, it picks up just a couple months later. Which, by the way, Toy Story 3 and 4 take place in 2007. That's the year they both take place. But we see that he's already dealing with no longer having the same owner. Then it has a new owner that doesn't have the same feelings and give him the same role as Andy did. And he still misses Andy. Again, it's only been a couple months since in between the two movies, and they came out 9 years apart, Toy Story 3 and 4. So there you go. All right, now I'm going to stop talking about it and I'm going to start letting you leave comments. What a great movie. And it's funny because there's not a lot of 4s. Toy Story 3, oh, the trilogy's done. No, the story wasn't over yet. Toy Story 4. All right, this video is over now. Your comments are right here.